crude oil in Nigeria. I think in all of this, I will take everything I'll have to say today very briefly. Maybe I just run through OMSA, which is our first company. This is a company I started 21 years ago. It's more or less a procurement and logistic company. And then we're supporting the upstream oil and gas after actually taking a stint in the upstream oil industry for a bit. And in doing that, I found the opportunity of, or the lack of the use of petroleum products in most oil exploration locations. I realized that there was a gap in supplies to most exploration locations, both land and offshore. And I took advantage of that and began to supply products first on land to most exploration locations, and then offshore. We started bunkering most offshore locations. Then we went into marine transportation equipment and started supporting them with the fuel that they need to operate. And in the course of doing that, I realized there was also a gap in the supply of products. The question to me was, why are we always importing the products that we supply to these people? Why can't we refine our product locally? Why are we not able to actually get or bring out the value that we have in our crude oil? So that led me to chase the opportunity in refining. This was in 2017. If I remember clearly, in 2017, when we came into this field of refining as OPAC, there wasn't so much that was being said then. I remember when we met the minister then, we were in a meeting in Abuja with the then Minister Kachoko. We were the only company that was actually ready to hit the ground and start from it, because we had partners. We actually consummate a relationship with our partners who were producers of modular refinery equipment. And today we're very proud to say we probably were the only refinery in Nigeria that actually constructed and installed their own modular refinery. So yeah. And so when we met our partners and we consummated our relationship, we went ahead to actually locate. In fact, the first challenge was, where do we locate the refinery? So like what would I call it now? Our secondary school economics says to us, when you want to locate an industry, it has to be nearest to raw material. So ours was, where was the nearest raw material for us? And we went around several locations. We were in Calabar, we were in other places, and eventually we settled for Delta State, Delta State. We identified a cluster in Kwale that was producing about, from the marginal fields, that was actually producing, as at that time, about 30,000 barrels, which I think today produces between 30 and 40,000 barrels of crude oil. And our interest then, outside the production that comes from Egypt, around the Kwale cluster. So our interest was that, yeah, we could actually locate a refinery in this location and produce that product into the local market. And part of the advantage that that was supposed to give to the nation, and not because we wanted to make money, was to actually bridge the gap of importation of any quantity of product that we were going to be refining from that local area. And also, we identified that there was also a challenge of moving the crude that was produced in that cluster from Sedeke to Brass and to Focados. So these were actually the two pipelines that actually take crude out of that location. From time to time, these pipelines were always compromised. And we said that if we locate a refinery in this location, what we are able to do is to solve the problem of moving crude out of that location and exporting the crude rather than actually refining it locally. So we went forth to actually start the project. However, a whole lot of challenges. In 2007, the refinery was actually meant to be commissioned in 2018. But in the course of that, we realized that it was very expensive for us to even bring our equipment in, because we were bringing prefab equipment into the country. To bring those equipment in, we realized that it was going to cost us so much, and went ahead again to pursue a waiver with the government. I think that is the waiver a lot of us here enjoy today. So we pursued that waiver. It took us about 7 months. Actually, we had our equipment at the port for 7 months before that waiver was granted. So when the waiver was granted, by the time we took our equipment, some of the equipment they actually been stolen, and we had to go back again to prefab some of the equipment to bring them in. So why am I saying this? These are some of the challenges that we have faced to get to where we are. So by the end of 2020, we had finished constructing our refinery. We had some kind of partnership with a local producer, Pillar, to ensure that we get feedstock for the refinery. But as the market dictates, Pillar, we are not ready to sell crude to us in local currency, because for us, for this market to work, because we're producing all of our products into the local market, the expectation was that if we sell the products in Naira, we should be able to pay for crude in Naira. But here we are stranded, and we went around trying to engage government to make government understand that if you are producing any products you are producing locally and you are selling into the local market, we should be given the advantage of buying such products, mostly when we have the raw material here in country. We should be given the advantage of purchasing the raw material in local currency, which of course is our legal tender. But till date, we are still in that struggle, because it doesn't seem as if everybody understands the economics behind we supporting our currency. Because having local refinery is not just about producing product, it's also about taking out about 40%, 30 to 40% of the foreign exchange we currently use to import products into Nigeria. And that also brings us to Cora. So we have to form an association called Crude Oil Association, Crude Oil Refinery-Owners Association of Nigeria, to pursue some of these goals. Because the goal of Cora is to make Nigeria sufficient with refined products. To ensure that also we support the government to reduce the amount of effort that we spend on the importation of refined products into Nigeria. Today we all know what dollar is doing. I'm sure if we take out 40% of the efforts that we use to import petroleum products into Nigeria, I'm sure that your guess is mine. We know where dollar will come back to. So we are still in that drive, we are still engaging, and we hope that one day we will be listened to. So however, let me go back to the topic of today, African refining. The question I always ask is, why refining? Why do we really have to refine? Do we need to have refineries? And that takes us to what we have today in Nigeria, what we call downstream, midstream, and probably upstream. Why do upstream and downstream exist? I don't know if anyone has ever thought of this. Why should we have upstream? Why should we produce oil? Most of us, I don't know, maybe some of us, know that the production of oil worldwide actually came about as a result of industrialization. When industrialization came in the 21st century, the white man probably thought that there was a need for oil to support the equipment that they were producing, and which they generally call petroleum, which came from the Latin word petra and polio. And they required this product to actually, I'll use the word power, quote and unquote, power all of the equipment that they were creating. Whether it is motor, whether it was industrial equipment, and whatsoever it is. And this was the need. And yes, if you produce crude, so what do you do with it? Do you drink it? Do you throw it into the waters? What do you do with it? So something must be done with it. And that is what brought refining into the picture. So, after refining, what do you do with the product? That brought about downstream. Someone has to probably take the product, distribute it, trade it, and all of that. So today in Nigeria, we have what we call upstream, midstream, and downstream. Then for me, the question is, what has the world generally done? What the world has done, the same people who probably were the drivers of the 21st century industrialization actually tried to also create their own market. Because oil, today we're discussing Africa, but oil was in Europe, let me say also in America. And these people had to create their index. And that is why I'm sure a lot of oil traders here today, what we are familiar with is the Brent index, which you see on ICE and all of that, and also what I would call WTI, which is the NYMEX index. And recently, I think we have the Dubai and the Oman index. The question is, here we are in Africa, what do we have? Nothing. And we call ourselves producers of crude oil. And we produce crude oil to do what we did. Because these people created all of this index to support their local production. That is why today the WTI, because they understand that most of the crude were coming from their land location, and they were trap crudes and all of that, they created it. So you see, at some point, the WTI is trading on discount to Brent. Why? Because if they have to refine locally, that discount will exist. It goes into their refinery. It makes the product cheaper for them locally. Today, we do not have such in Africa. Narrow that to Nigeria. We as refiners will be able to create refinery. If we go to government and we go to anyone, even the regulators, and say, sell crude to us, we need discount, so that you can get this product cheap locally and all of that, someone will say you're stupid. Why? Because we do not understand the politics within this game. It's a politics. What we do today, and I'm sure for the last several years, we have been taking our crude out here. Sometimes we have called it swap, we have called it all sorts of names, DSCP and all of that. What we are practically doing is taking our crude to another man's land. We refine it there, we create jobs for them there, we create businesses for them, we do all of those things for them over there. We bring it here, we pay them, we take our money out, and all of that. We have said as Crude Oil Refinery Association, look at the volume of money that we are spending on that. Just like we have done as OPAC. looking at a small cluster and saying,